graduated high school and got a house and I was waiting tables and my dad got a Honda Magna 750, right? And it was kind of beat. And finally I rode the bike, and this is probably midsummer, being 18 years old. My birthday's in November, so I'm probably middle of the summertime, and I fell in love. Like immediately was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. My name is John Jessup. I own Dream Rides. We have a location in Stockton, California and Maryville, Tennessee. And we've been doing this almost 20 years now. We started our first shop in 2004. And I love building performance-driven bikes. So yeah, we've been in Stockton for, like I said, since 2004. And Stockton's home. We have a huge customer base there and a lot of really strong friendships. But the political environment there and a lot of the stuff we like to do to bikes is illegal. So my wife and I decided to take a huge gamble, and we landed in Maryville, Tennessee, and that is a good place to be for performance bikes. We're right near the tail of the dragon, so we get to test suspension and motors and everything else, around some of the most challenging roads in the country. So Maryville, Tennessee is pretty much heaven if you're a motorcycle guy, or really, it's heaven if you're a hiker or a fisherman or someone who just likes a good place to live. The sense of community is really strong. You should see the town when there's a Friday night football game. It's electric. Within 30 minutes, we're hiking in the national park. 30 minutes the other direction, we can be sitting on the sidewalks in Knoxville eating crepes, in a major metropolitan city. So this place has everything we need and is really right at our fingertips, where California has some amazing riding, has some amazing scenery, but typically you can't live there. Or some people do, but most people don't. You have to go a few hours to get there. Here, it's right in my backyard. So, we can go for a ride on Sunday morning, be home by 1 or 2, and have the most insane ride we've ever had in our lives. And it's a good thing. There's some amazing things about California. Really, I miss the people. I miss the customers. I miss the Mexican food. I miss splitting lanes. But really the people, all those relationships and the customer base and my family, that's really what I miss. But this was a good move definitely for my family and myself. So I did not grow up riding motorcycles. Motorcycles were forbidden in my house. I was raised by my grandmother, and I graduated high school and got a house and I was waiting tables and my dad got a Honda Magna 750, right? And it was kind of beat. And the guy would just annoy me every day. I'm 18 at the time, and he's like, "You need to learn how to ride this bike." Well, yeah, whatever. Who cares? And finally, to get him to shut up, I rode the bike. And this is probably midsummer, being 18 years old. My birthday's in November, so, I'm probably middle of the summertime, and I fell in love. Like immediately was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Rip around the neighborhoods and all that, my little brother and myself. And by December, I knew I wanted a Harley because chicks dig guys with Harleys. That's the reason most of us got them to begin with, I think, if we're being honest with ourselves. So I went and got my first Harley was a 2000 Fat Boy, and I got that thing, and it had skulls on it, and I had my leather jacket has spikes on the shoulders and flames in the sleeves. I was the stereotypical douchebag that I would make fun of now But yeah, I had skull helmet with goggles and the skull face mask, and I thought it was really tough. I was waiting tables for a steakhouse and bought this bike, and what do we do with our bikes? We want to trick them out. We want to do things to them. So at the time we're talking, this is 2000, 2001, actually, no, this is like December 2000 is when I got my first bike, and or first Harley rather. So that whole year I'm saving every penny I can to figure out how to work on this thing. I can't afford to pay the dealership to do it, so I'm figuring it out myself. And then I only worked the nighttime, so I went to work at a place called Harley Davidson. I was working at the parts counter. I worked there for a couple years, and I had a customer give me an opportunity to open up a shop called Delta Bike Works in North Stockton. I did that for a couple of years. The partnership dissolved, and then in 2004 I started Dream Rides, and really didn't have any training. I just had way too much confidence for a young kid, and really didn't have anything to lose. So we went for it, and you keep doing something for 20 years, you're bound to get good at it. So I was, I'd reached a certain level of success building FXRs and became, known for that, I guess. And I love FXRs. Those FXRs are my passion. But the reality of the situation is, as a bike shop, we need to market ourselves to people who have newer bikes. And the newer bikes, are less challenging to build, if I'm being honest. Okay. So that's, for a lot of us, that's why we tend to build FXRs and stuff like that. It's just more challenging. So in 2019, I decided, okay, it's time to get with the program. Let me buy an M8. Let me build this bike. And I decided to build the bike, and it was amazing. The minute I got done with it, or done for that time being, we had tons of customers going, oh, you know how to work on M8s, right? So it really worked to do the marketing that way. And when I started to build the bike, it was just like, okay, I'm going to get a new bike. Let's build it just for marketing. And then I fell in love with it. The new Softails, the M8 motors, the baggers, they are next level cool. I love FXRs, but FXR for me is like a classic C10 pickup. There's nothing cooler, right? But if you have to drive a classic C10 pickup every day, or you go and get your brand new truck, there's just a different level, of what you can do with the two different machines. New bike cannot be as cool as an FXR, in my opinion, but it'll ride way better, and it won't break down as much and all that kind of thing. So, that's what led me into building the bike. Aesthetically, I wanted to pay homage to an FXR. In heart, deep down, I'm an FXR guy, or I'd like to believe I am. Like I said, my passion, the thing that really turns me on is a resto mod FXR. Someone who's taken an old school bike and made it everything a new bike could possibly be, as much as it could possibly be. So it was important to me to pay homage to that. And that's why it has the paint job it has. And then I chose the colors. I was actually at Wheels Through Time. And one of the favorite things I love to do when I go there is just look at color schemes on bikes that are 100 years old or however old. And there was that like, I guess it's maybe a Tiffany blue on the bike. It was a bike that was actually gray and Tiffany blue. So anyway, I just fell in love with that color. But then, so chroming the bike out, right? The bike comes blacked out, which it looks good. It looks great blacked out, but I can't have a stock bike, and I love chrome, and chrome shops were still actually chrome plating parts back then. So I decided to go crazy and chrome out a bike that comes black, and people like it because it's different than most. Everybody, it's easy to black them out, right? So that's the route usually people take. We built the bike, got done with it. I'm gonna say probably January, February of 2020, and then COVID hit. And Harley did this like it was called the No Show Bike Show. It was like an Instagram bike show. So we were featured on that, and then we started winning shows with the thing. I mean, the bikes won a lot of bike shows. And then last year, I wanted to get my toes wet with a turbo. So I decided I was going to turbo the bike, and we put a Trask turbo. Trask has been doing it as longer than anybody. They really have the system refined. So I bolted one of their Stage 2 turbos on that bike. And then I fell in love with turbos. Turbos are so much fun to ride. So the motor build is a Dark Horse flywheel with leading edge cylinders and pistons. We had Ride On Motorsports in Vallejo, California do the cylinder heads. It's got S&S roller rockers. I'm running a Rick Ward 580 cam, and then the Stage 2 turbo is for the bigger displacements. That's a 129-inch motor. So Trask makes a Stage 1, Stage 2 turbo, just different size turbo for different displacements. Using a turbo does affect your cam choice. With a let me just be straight up. I am by no means an expert on turbos. I've put 2 on. I've got 2 turbo bikes, and it's still a learning process for me, which is what's so exciting about the deal. I love learning new stuff. But with the turbo, you're increasing the air pressure inside the cylinder. So normal, naturally aspirated motor is, just natural. It's the air pressure we have right here, And so, on most of these turbo setups, we're running between 8 to 10 PSI. So we're packing 8 to 10 times more air in that cylinder. Well, the way you keep the air in the cylinder is a cam with as little overlap as possible. So if both the intake and the exhaust valve are open at the same time, well, what's going to happen is that air is going to get blown into the cylinder and right back out. So that's you want a cam with as little overlap as possible. There's a lot more to it. Like I said, I'm still learning. For me, whether I'm building an FXR, a M8, or twin cam, or whatever it is, on both my Softail, my Road Glide, my Road King, the things had like 50 miles on them, and I'm splitting the crank. I'm having Dark Horse do the flywheel, or A1 do the flywheel. We're going full motor build. Whether it's a naturally aspirated bike or a turbo bike or whatever, I know where the weak links are. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and build it out the gate. I'm going to bulletproof that motor. I'm going to do what it takes to make it so it's just reliable. I can go cross country on this thing, pushing 150 plus horsepower and not have to blink an eye. So yeah, when we build a motor, it's going to be solid. Then, if you bolt a turbo on it, whatever we do to it, it's going to stand the abuse. For suspension, we took in, I chromed the bike out first of all. I took the stock lowrider tubes and had them chromed. The whole bike was black, and I I'm more of a chrome, I like chrome stuff. I raised the bike about 1.5 inches front and rear. And I just cheated. I just lowered the fork tubes down and, put the Russ Warminster shock in the back, and, it works pretty good. So we chromed the bike out, but then I ran Legends drop-ins in the front. I've got a Russ Warminster Designs monoshock in the back with his little piggyback reservoir. Yeah, and if you haven't ridden in one of the 18 and up Softails, you owe it to yourself to do so. They're phenomenal. One of the most important things when you're building a high horsepower bike, or really any bike for that matter, I really like an aggressive brake. My favorite brakes in the world are the Arlen Ness 14-inch rotors. Even with stock calipers, they're phenomenal, but then when you marry them with their 6-piston calipers for their 14-inch rotors, man, I can take that bike and with 2 fingers just damn near do a stoppie, So we run the Ness brakes. If you look at almost every bike I have, I've got the Ness 14-inch rotors with their calipers on it. And then the wheels, on that bike, we have the Arlen Ness Y spokes. They're just a good flashy wheel. As far as the rear suspension goes, we have got the Russ Warminster monoshock paired with the Track Dynamics swing arm. For the brake, I'm running a Performance Machine caliper. One of the weak links on the 18 and up Softails is the rear caliper. It leaves a lot to be desired. So, the PM caliper back there works really well. One of my favorite tires in the world is the Metzler Cruise Tech, so those really stick. That's what I have on that bike. So yeah, on any bike we have, or any bike I do, I'm putting a chain drive on there. That's not really a chain drive kit. I'm just running a drag specialty sprocket, a Baker front sprocket. We line them up. Run the Diamond Engineering ARP bolts for the pulley, and slap a chain on it, away we go. One of the inspirations for the bike was to make it like a FXR lowrider. So it was a FXLRS, right, is what that bike is. And the FXR is a FXLR. So the paint scheme looks like a FXR lowrider. It's similar. So I also wanted the gauges off the dash. So we went and smoothed the dash out, put the gauges up on the risers. And then, so I'm running hard case performance risers. One thing I really like, in a riser is when the wires are hidden. I hate that big wire loom hanging down the middle. That just annoys the hell out of me. So they make a cool riser where we can hide those. Then I got the Thrash and Supply mid bends, Ness mirrors. I think I've got Roland Sands levers. Just nothing exotic, but it works really well. Initially, when I first built the bike, I had the FXDXT fairing on there. Then, I rode it cross country, and I was like, all right, an FXRT fairing is pretty nice. So I put an FXRT fairing on there, and I left that on there for maybe a year, maybe a little bit longer. And then it seemed like if you had a Vespa or a Ninja or a Dyna or a Road King or a V-Rod, everybody was bolting FXRT fairings on everything. So as much as I love FXRTs, I'm about sick of seeing FXRT fairings. So I took it off and put my FXDXT fairing back on. And I still have the leather pros for it, but it looks better without them. So unless I'm going on a trip or something, they stay off the bike. Oh. I have my original FXRT at home, and I think I'm getting ready to I'm redoing the bike. I think I'm just going to get a OG convertible windshield, the huge one, and the leather bags, just because I don't think I can stomach an FXRT right now. The seat choice for me was Saddleman. We went ahead and ran with the Saddleman step up. On that turbo bike, I just want to be locked in. I run that bike at the drag strip as well as ride it long distance. So if I'm launching at the drag strip, the last thing I want to do is slide off the back. That step up, it's pretty hard to slide off the back of a bike with one of those step ups on. So this bike is going to be up for sale here pretty soon. I love the bike, but I also love building bikes. And I've just built this Turbo Road King. I'm doing a Turbo FXR next. So at some point, my house my floors are all cracked. My bathrooms are from the 1980s. And my wife's looking at me going, hey, come on, and I can't blame her. So, I think I'm gonna put it up for sale, even though it'll kill me to do so. It's a very special bike to me. Ridden cross country twice, put a lot of miles on it, and the thought of selling it makes me sick, to be honest. So it might not be for sale. We have our shop in Stockton, California. If you're in NorCal, you owe it to yourself to go give Tom and Jim a shot over there. They're really professionals at what they do. If you're in East Tennessee, come check us out. We're in Maryville, I think we got it going on here, and we'll treat you right. We also have an e-commerce store, teamdreamrides.com, and really, where we strive to be different than, say, a Revzilla or a JP or anything else is, I build bikes. It's owned and operated by people who love motorcycles, not just call center people. So when you buy from us, you buy online, you're helping support the motorcycle industry. I'm out there pounding pavement, doing bike shows, putting bike shows on. I eat, breathe, and sleep this shit. So, if you can shoot me some business, I'd sure appreciate it. And then you can follow me or my shops on Instagram. I'm Dream Rides John. We've got Dream Rides Tennessee, Team Dream Rides. Just Google Dream Rides, and a bunch of assets will pop up for you to follow there. We've got a lot of avenues. I appreciate getting the spotlight. It's 20 years in the making of being in this, but to be honest, there's no way I could do this by myself. I've got a huge team. Well, huge for us independent guys, but there's a team of people that make these things happen, between the painters and the machinists, all the guys working for me, my brother and brother-in-law in California holding it down out there, my wife at home pushing me forward to do the next thing. So it's really important for me to give thanks to everybody who pulls together to make Dream Rides happen, because it's not just me. If these guys weren't here working and making it happen, I couldn't build bikes, and we couldn't be out running around the country doing bike shows and pushing our brand. So it's really important to me to thank everybody in our organization. It's really important. So, and then, hey, thanks for watching. For the first 15 years in business, lost my ass and was having to rob Peter to pay Paul, and like any guy in this business, we are not businessmen. We're guys who love bikes, who open shops, and have to churn out to try and become businessmen. One thing we're doing, my buddy Jason Hellman and myself, we're doing on his. He's got a podcast called Garage Built Podcast, and we're doing a podcast series aimed at bike shop owners. Not making the mistakes we've made along the years, and really trying to give them not a cheat sheet, but at least some guidelines or some lessons that we've had to learn the hard way, and maybe they don't have to learn the hard way. So
that's pretty genius. Yeah, because I saw the one like you posted, or did somebody, maybe he posted? Somebody posted just like a day or two ago.
Yeah. We're trying to do them every couple weeks, and go over business ideas like, okay, how do we write a work order? How do we market our companies? All the things that really are business related, not bike mechanic related. You can be the best mechanic in the world. If you don't know how to run a bike shop, it's not going to work, or it's going to take a very long time for it to work. Like like I said, the first 15 years of my life, or my motorcycle career, or of shop ownership, was a disaster.